Hulk Hogan appeared on the Bubba the Love Sponge radio show in Florida and said that he spent some time talking with TNA officials about the possibility of working for the promotion. There is actually a good chance he will agree to make at least one appearance, although some sources consider the negotiations to be posturing on Hogan's part. Others believe he and TNA are close enough on financial terms that he will come in for a one-time appearance.
How much do you think that costs?
Oh god, a one-off Hogan appearance? It's got to be like north of 10k, right?
I think far north. I think you're doubling that.
Because Hogan would have been working in Japan at this stage, so...
I think you're getting like 20k for that, easy.
Because apparently Piper was looking for 5 just to do angles.
Yeah.
So when you consider Hogan is a bigger star than Piper in 2003.
It's an interesting one.
The meeting between TNA officials and Hulk Hogan was on September 12th in Tampa, Florida. Hogan, Jimmy Hart, and Jeff and Jerry Jarrett were present. The hope is Hogan would get them a TV deal, which they still believe would be the best move for the long-term solvency of the company. Jerry Jarrett's optimism that wrestling fans and the TV industry were ready for a pay-per-view weekly series has soured, especially because the pay-per-view distributor in demand has been, for the most part, so organized and unsupportive, despite early promises of the opposite.
Unorganized and unsupportive.
Oh yes, I said organized. It's the opposite. So, they want Hogan, Liam. They want Hulk Hogan.
Listen, I don't blame them.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, like, the biggest name in the history of the US wrestling scene. It's 2003, has a lot of value still. Would pop a big number. Unfortunately, it'd probably just be some sort of Vince Russo segment.
Well, we'll get to that. He's currently suing Vince Russo for things that happened in WCW. So
maybe they keep them separate. Maybe that's one of those random episodes where it's like, oh, Russo isn't here this week.
Because what was it, Bash at the Beach 2000? The Hogan Jarrett segment where Jarrett laid down for Hogan?
I'm not sure. I don't know WCW history.
Because that segment was a work shoot where Jarrett was meant to be defending the belt against Hogan. Jarrett walked out, laid down for Hogan. Hogan looked flabbergasted. That's how it was supposed to play out, but then Vince Russo came out and cut a promo on Hogan calling him a useless piece of shit, and Hogan was not best pleased, so he ended up suing them.
I was going to say, because he had, like, creative control in his contract.
So it's typical WCW, where it was a worked shoot that worked itself into a shoot.
No, well, to be fair, the work shoot didn't work itself into a shoot. It was the guy shooting who just decided to do it.
So we'll talk about that in a second with our next note about how the next thing we're going to talk about might be influenced by the fact that they are trying to get Hulk Hogan in. But yeah, like that, the idea is to do that match again. It's to do Hogan and Jarrett, which I'm not sure anybody in the world really wants. But you know what? It's the only. Who else would you do with Hogan? Hogan and AJ?
Yeah, like it makes no. Yeah, you do Jarrett and Hogan teaming up against Russo and AJ.
I'd just book Hogan and Dusty.
That was exactly what went through my mind after the words came out of my mouth.
It's just like, why not? Just book Hogan and Dusty.
Yeah, they're like Hogan, Sting, and Raven versus Jarrett, AJ, and Russo.
And Dusty.
And Dusty's the special guest referee.
And Eric Watts is chained to Russo.
Yeah, and Eric Watts is the enforcer.
Russo just has a Watts on his arm at all times, despite the fact that he's wrestling. And 3LK is your ring announcers, because that's a thing we do these days, apparently.
I'd do a Jerry Lynn versus Hulk Hogan.
The true TNA ace, Jerry Lynn.
Yeah.
Hogan versus Disco, you could do that.
You could do that.
You could do Hogan versus Mad Mikey.
Oh, that might be good. Hogan versus Kid Cash, obviously, the legend gimmick.
Or Hogan against Abyss.
Yeah, well, he beats Abyss, obviously.
Foreshadowing the 2010 stuff with the Hogan and Abyss.
Let's get off this subject.
We will be talking about more about Hogan in the coming episodes of this show, and I'm sure you want to hear lots more about Hulk Hogan.
I think I know what that's about.
Yeah, well, this story rolls on all the way to 2010.